Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to be talking about Mousehunt from 1997. And this was a winner of the Patreon movie review vote. If you would like for me to review a movie of your choice, then click on the link below and pledge, and maybe I'll be reviewing your movie next month. And this movie was chosen by Midi Samosa. I was actually kind of starting to see movies in theaters when this came out, and I didn't see it. And I actually think, because I have heard more and more people appreciating it more so now than I ever heard at the time. When I first kind of heard it being reevaluated, I was a little just surprised, but I hadn't seen it until this. And when I did see it, I sort of got both why this movie did not go over well. It did well financially, it was fine. Critically, it didn't go over well. And its perception at the time versus how it is now. But I think everyone was sort of wrong, because this is a genuinely really good slapstick film. Probably one of the better physical comedies of the late 90s that I think was not really trying to do any sort of trends, and that's sort of what hurt it ultimately, critically. But also, I think what makes it so amazing, what you have is sort of like just a simple kind of concept of them trying to hunt a mouse in this house, kind of Laurel and Hardy type comedy from Nathan Lane and Lee Evans, and almost like going both Laurel and Hardy, Tom and Jerry, Looney Tune. I could say silent film, and I could see this better from Gore Verbinski in this than Lone Ranger. And I think this movie really got what works about physical comedy at a time when that, post Home Alone world was everywhere, but he sort of got what made it classical. Like, there's a reason people still watch the Three Stooges, there's a reason Tom and Jerry's still funny, and there's a reason we still know who Laurel and Hardy is, and this film kind of justifies that as much as it justifies its own existence, and kind of justifies why we should have been evaluating this film a lot differently. Mousehunt is about two brothers, the Spunts brothers, Nathan Lane and Lee Evans. Ernie, who is Nathan Lane, Lars is Lee Evans. It sort of doesn't matter. But they are given this vast fortune, and when he dies, they're given the string factory, and they're also given this house, which is apparently a very hugely valuable house. It's by a famous architect called LaRue, and it's like the last known LaRue ever, and they could make like $10 million or something like that off this house, so all they have to do is restore it. Ernie, played by Nathan Lane, is on tough times because he was a famous chef, but then the guy who was going to be mayor, like that night, ate at his restaurant, ate a cockroach that wound up in his food, and he died, and then he was sent out of business. In a scene that I was eating during, and was really fucking disgusting. So thanks a lot, movie. I almost, I've never thrown up. Even all the John Waters films I've reviewed and watched a lot in my youth, but whoa. You almost got me, Mousehunt. So he's down and out. Lars's wife left him. They need this house to work, but this one mouse keeps terrorizing them, and they have to catch him and stop him so they can sell the LaRue and make tons of money and be fabulously wealthy and all that stuff. Basically, there's a lot of extra plots to this, and it does the kind of complications that physical sort of slapstick does. But ultimately, it's about two guys who are hunting a mouse. It is no different than Tom and Jerry. That's essentially what this film is. So why I didn't see this when it came out, and why you like it now, are separate things. You probably like it now because Gore Verbinski is much more of an auteur director. This is his first film. At the time, Gore Verbinski hadn't made a Pirates movie or anything like that. I never hear people talking about The Mexican, which he also directed. Never hear about that anymore. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe that's not good. I'm getting the impression. I never saw that either. And I get why people like it. If you like that Gore Verbinski style, it very much is in kind of, and a very better part of that. But at the time, this is 1997. It is about 5 or 6 years since Home Alone and all the various slapstick stuff that had gone on since then. And there was a lot of it. And audiences, and especially critics, were sick of it. And after, Leslie Nielsen and Mr. Magoo, and all the various things, which were not good movies, I had to sit through a lot of them. At the beginning, we all liked them. Someone going and making a very traditional physical comedy slapstick film that's influenced by older Hollywood is just not going to go over as well in 1997. Maybe in 93, this would have been appreciated better, but in 97, it just wasn't happening. Ebert's review kind of misses the point. He said, though, who am I supposed to root for? I'm like, Laurel and Hardy were never great people necessarily, but you kind of like to see them get hurt. Same with like Tom and Jerry, same with all those things. So I think he sort of missed. He also says there's an over-reliance on CG, which I think compared to now is a fucking joke. But at the time, I guess. I guess. I don't. And they used a lot of practical mouse effects, it looked like to me. And that, whoever the mouse wrangler was, like, that's insanely, it's really good. I'm sure they use puppets and other things. And I do understand, like a lot of people even said, if you watch all the slasher films in order, by the time you get to like 84 or 85, you're like, what is some of this? Like, you hate movies you used to like. So I get why people didn't like it, and it was sort of like bad timing. It seems like audiences were not that stupid and got it. It did well. It was considered a family film, which I don't know about that. I just think this kind of a film would be considered that at the time. So sure, it was the first family film from DreamWorks. So I guess without this, there'd be not a Shrek, not really. But if you want to say that, I guess you could and be. Yeah, no, don't say that. But I think Nathan Lane is great. Lee Evans, who I don't think I really ever liked him in something. I think they play off each other very well. Nathan Lane is like chewing the scenery in the best way. He's amazing. Lee Evans is really great. There's a great cameo from Christopher Walken. As soon as he walked, I wouldn't say cameo, but small part in this as a pest control guy. He is absolutely doing his Christopher Walken best, having a fun. I mean, he's a physical guy as well. And they're not only good at like laying these like ridiculous plot lines and various things like that, but they also are very good physical comedians. I really did like a lot of the Nathan Lane delivery in this is pretty immaculate, to be honest with you. And I did remind me of like things like the better Three Stooges and stuff like that in this film. I'm actually going to tell friends who are into physical comedies, we all looked at Mousehunt because it's actually kind of fun. It is very cartoony and silly and weird in a lot of places that I think, again, I don't think at the time that was something people were into, but I definitely think works for it. This film wouldn't really work as well if it was like naturalistic or something. I think part of the fun of it is, these two grown-up males fighting for their livelihood, fighting to get the American dream, and they're doing it by, being outsmarted by a genius mouse, or just a little mouse, honestly, and that's pretty fun. I was surprised how like kind of inventive and fun this felt, like, old like Chaplin or Keaton or something, where you're like, how can them doing this be an hour? Like, I often use the example, there was the Keaton film where he just saw there was a boat on the MGM lot and he made a movie out of it. And like, this feels like certain cases, and like, how can you go after a mouse this much? And I think like they'll do callbacks during the physical gags. They'll use, like, I think there was one point where they bought a hot tub and there was a girl in it, and you forget about the hot tub, and later Nathan Lane is shot up through the chimney, goes through the ice, and he goes in the ice, and the girl who was in the like cardboard cutout girl in the hot tub is there, and it's like that was like really funny. Like, I thought that was fun. It does feel like the Gore Verbinski, who everyone told me was referencing Buster Keaton in Lone Ranger, like, I thought, like, okay, he doesn't really know this world at all. And honestly, a lot of the silent film and physical comedy references in that, I honestly thought were so bad. Like, oh, well, he's not doing that because this is terrible. But in this movie, I can tell he is that guy, and I think he does a great job in this. This was a lot of fun. I'm very happy to have actually seen this, which I was a little surprised by. At the time, I was very much a snooty middle schooler and believed in, like, I should always follow the critics and stuff. And as a critic now myself, I should say both, fuck the critics, but also, like, make up your own mind about things. If you're actually interested in them, go forth and, like, make your own opinion. They're just kind of their perspectives, and if you don't agree with them, you don't have to follow them like it's gospel, which, I was kind of new to the thing, so I believed in a little more. But I do think, like, Nathan Lane is a lot of fun. Lee Evans is a lot of fun. It seemed like I noticed one of the guys who's one of the, I think it was not Mr. Noodle, but Mr. Noodle's friend I saw in the background there. It seemed like a lot of comedians who at the time, like even Lars's wife and stuff, who I didn't necessarily like in other stuff, I thought, all right, isn't she News Radio? And this was William Hickey's final performance as their father. But I just felt like it all kind of like gelled together in the best way. I think sometimes when you revisit these comedies and they're so wordy and it's like a rom-com style instead of fashion, or a mid-budget thing that didn't age as well as people are going to act like it did now or something. But this is very much film. It's like very planned out, physical comedy. Gags are layered upon layered. They'll reference old gags and go into things. They'll have fun with the mouse. Like it feels very much animation based, more so than I've seen from a lot of the physical comedy at the time, which was definitely like, I think Home Alone would not have been successful if you didn't have kids growing up on Looney Tunes. But at the same time, like I think this is very much feels a piece of it, almost like how the new Looney Tunes reboot feels like a piece of Looney Tunes. You know, certainly not as good as Laurel and Hardy, certainly not as good as Three Stooges or something like that, but it feels like at home being in the conversation. I think it's a shame it kind of got forgotten. I just, not necessarily forgotten, but like misjudged at the time. I just think people were asking it for things that the film wasn't necessarily offering. I think it was being its own unique, weird physical comedy animation influence itself, and that wasn't cool. So you know, I think Mouse Hunt, and even like, you know, what was it, when the Three Stooges reboot or movie came out, people love that. And I think if you the timing and the context matters. I still hear good things about that Three Stooges thing. I still haven't seen it, but this, I think, kind of showed Gore Verbinski has his own weird view to it. It's like, if he's gonna do a physical comedy movie, it's just gonna be sort of like Laurel and Hardy will be like, we're selling, my favorite Laurel and Hardy is where they're like selling a Christmas tree and they go door to door and they're selling a Christmas tree and they get into various bits and stuff, and it's like really funny, but it's a simple premise. And this, like, there's various complications. He does the things that Keaton or Chaplin or the Three Stooges would do and go into these various like callbacks and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's like they are trying to catch a mouse and the mouse is destroying the house. It's a simple premise, but you can see how storytelling comes alive through that. And I think he very much got that. And I'm just very happy with this film. I'm not the biggest Gore Verbinski guy or anything like that, but I think this kind of shows what works about him as an auteur and as a filmmaker, is that he very much gets like, and I could see it in the first Pirates, which I still, I haven't seen in a while, but I remember liking, was kind of just making a very entertaining film, but understanding the kind of physics and the simplicity of kind of like broad storytelling in a sense. And it seems like he almost loves physical comedy more than anyone at the time really did, but in a real classical sense. Yeah, I would say if you haven't seen Mouse Hunt, I would recommend it. Or if you kind of disregard it, I would reappraise it. But I think the people who have kind of come to it later or have realized what it actually is are actually correct. Catching mice, I've done it a few times, is not easy. It kind of gets to that eternal struggle, but puts it in the kind of most insane, amplified to 11 beyond what you'd expect. But I think like that's what's fun about watching Tom chase Jerry. That's what's fun about watching Laurel and Hardy. I don't necessarily relate to them, but I love watching them fall down, and I love watching them getting into these messes. And much the same way, I liked watching Mouse Hunt. So if you have seen Mouse Hunt and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. And this was a winner of the Patreon movie review vote. If you would like for me to review a movie of your choice, then click on the link below and pledge, and maybe I'll be reviewing your movie next month. Thank you very much for watching.